Ia Male Ava.
The Dave Hooker Show.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app.
Download now for free.
Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
No messing around as we are off and running with plenty to talk about. What a huge weekend for the Vols in recruiting as they are hitting hyperspeed in recruiting with 3 prospects since we last spoke to you. So we'll have a rundown on those, and the Vols clearly making their presence felt on the recruiting trail. We've mentioned before, in case you took a little break from recruiting, December is now June in terms of the most fervent and active recruiting month. So we're going to be all on top of it. We'll talk a little bit of baseball Vols as well and what happened to them over the weekend against Florida. And also, Tennessee beats Deion Sanders, who, of course, is from Colorado and got a ton of pub. And I thought it was a cool story. I thought he could have success there, but now I'm beginning to wonder because I've noticed things that he's doing, such as having fake reporters there standing next to him in practice. And it sounds now very orchestrated, kind of like a Broadway show, some of his air quote reality shows. So Tennessee did get one prospect from Colorado. Where is Colorado now? And him and Deion, is the buzz done completely? And then Kennedy Chandler, who I said last year, should he have stayed another year? Want to get into that. 4 former Vols make the NBA playoffs. Who among them is the most important? First with Kennedy Chandler. Let me start there for a second before I get to these commitments over the weekend. I said, 2 months ago, that Tennessee should have found a way to keep him via NIL money. And I'll still stand by that. I don't think the money was to the point where you couldn't even approach it. I think it was roughly $4 million, which it came out to about $1 million a year. I'm not saying he would make that in NIL, but you could at least come up with a 6-digit package, and Kennedy Chandler would have changed this basketball team. There's no doubt in my mind. Good morning, Caleb.
How's it going, Dave? How are you doing today?
Never better. I got my Superman cup or my superheroes cup, and I'm ready to rock with some good coffee.
Nice. Sounds like a blast. I had cold coffee this morning, so
Yeesh.
It's iced coffee day, man. It's iced coffee time now.
Are we talking about, let's say, just best case scenario? Are we talking about Tennessee making the Elite 8 or Final 4 if Kennedy Chandler is a member of this team and Zakai Ziegler doesn't get hurt? Are you more won over, even though I know you don't like Rick Barnes' style in general? Does that win you over a little bit more?
Oh, I'm much more won over. Kennedy Chandler last year, his one drawback was he was under 70% from the free throw line, and I felt like an athletic guard like him needs to be 80%. Like, that's always my benchmark. But he was a go-to guy. You always could trust him to kind of take over a game when you needed a bucket late. And a lot of times Rick Barnes could put Zakai Ziegler and Kennedy Chandler in together. And for those of you who don't know, I guess since we're talking about him, we need to make this clear. He got cut by the Memphis Grizzlies over the weekend.
Yes. Sorry about that. Good morning, Travis. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, they waived Kennedy Chandler over the weekend. Had a lot to do with the Grizzlies still have a roster spot used on Steven Adams, who was out for the postseason, so they needed another big man. So they called up Kenny Lofton Jr. Just there was no space for Kennedy Chandler because of that. But yes, if he had stayed, I could have seen them making the Elite 8 or Final 4 because they would have had everything they needed plus a go-to scorer at that point. And with this past year's March Madness, anything would have been possible. I mean, you saw that Florida Atlantic game. We know that they have bad, dry spells of offense, but what was clear with the Florida Atlantic game is when they have those dry spells, they had nobody they could turn to say, just get us a bucket and bail us out of this. And Kennedy Chandler was consistently that last year.
Want to talk more about him momentarily and how I think Tennessee's collective, whoever those groups are, could do a better job of supporting both men's and women's basketball and actually have more of an impact in those sports because one player can make such a difference as opposed to having a Nico in football who Tennessee has already taken a commitment in the following year's class from a quarterback. So I think Tennessee can separate itself, or somebody is going to separate itself in terms of basketball NIL. We just haven't seen that yet because the numbers aren't nearly as big. It is time for today's tough question, brought to you by Craven Wings. They bring you great wings, never frozen, always fresh and phenomenal. Try the fantastic Sauce 87 after our own Jacob Warren. It is time for today's tough question, and it is right now.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
So Tennessee over the weekend, and this was actually Friday afternoon, right about the time we went off the air, started to pick up these commitments. And a couple of them we were absolutely sure that they were coming. That wasn't a surprise at all. So let's go ahead and break those down. Shamar Arnoux, he's the 2025 defensive back. Jesse Perry, and then Gage Ginther. What do you make that trio of a haul for Tennessee on a weekend in which is Easter weekend? They don't have practice, so players weren't able to see practice in person over the weekend, which often leads to commitments. I was just a little surprised over the weekend Tennessee picked up 3 quick ones, but that's good for the Vols.
Yes, starting with Shamar Arnoux. So for people who didn't pay attention to us over the weekend or who haven't checked out his interview on our YouTube channel, he is a 4-star defensive back for the 2025 class. That's another sign that Josh Heupel is just throwing stuff at the wall for defensive backs right now. He needs an elite defensive back, and he's going to keep recruiting them until he finds enough special players for depth, because we know how bad that unit was last year. This was a good pickup. This was a really good pickup. I think Tennessee is going to keep targeting those type of players, particularly because they're deep enough on the defensive line and linebacker and receiver now. And most of Josh Heupel's offense is about him. And he's not going to have to work that hard to recruit on offense in the future.
You had mentioned too, not to get you sidetracked, but is Tennessee recruiting bigger defensive backs? Well, Willie Martinez was actually asked that. Do you like bigger defensive backs? And he said specifically he liked guys with length. So maybe they didn't necessarily answer your question, but indirectly they did. They want guys that are in the 6'1", 6 foot, 6'2" top of range. So you're going to see more of those. What'd you make of the rest of the trio?
Yes. So the other 2 were offensive linemen, both 3 stars. But Dave, I think you know as well as I do, with offensive linemen more than any other type of position, recruiting, the bodies matter more than the star ratings. And Tennessee picked up 2, Jesse Perry, Gage Ginther, 1 from in-state, 1 out of Colorado. Adding those 2 guys now gives them 8 commitments for 2024. And right now on 247 Sports Composite, they're number 7. Now, this is way too early. Recruiting halls happen in June, and it totally reshuffles the recruiting rankings. But only Georgia and LSU are ahead of them right now. Gun to my head, Alabama's going to be ahead of them when it's all said and done. But right now, Tennessee is not looking too bad. And that's a really good sign.
If I can jump in there, I think Georgia and Alabama will always have an advantage in recruiting offensive linemen, and that's because of size. They're going to take the big guys, whereas Tennessee is just going to be fine taking a guy that's the 280, 285 range that will grow into 300. They don't need the 320 guy because they want guys that are going to be light on their feet. So recruiting rankings, and trust me, I know this, they're going to look at size. And if there's some place between a 3-star and a 4-star, or a 4-star and a 5-star, then they're going to give them credit based off their size. So Tennessee may not win elite recruiting battles when it comes to offensive linemen, but that's not necessarily a bad thing moving forward because they want guys that are light and can move on their feet. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, that's fine. And yes, and to add context to that, Gage Ginther, who is an interior lineman, is 6'5", about 287, according to 247 Sports. Jesse Perry is 6'6", 275. Now you expect them to put on some weight by the time they arrive at Tennessee because they have another year of football left, and then there's going to be conditioning and they'll probably ride the bench for a year or 2 before they even see the field. And I agree. That's probably the one thing that you can kind of skew things in Tennessee's favor a little bit if they're 5 to 6, if they're in the 5 to 10 range in recruiting classes over the next few years, and Alabama and Georgia in the 1 to 5. The difference may be, just like you said, the star ratings of the offensive linemen solely due to the size. And so I don't think it's reason to panic.
And I want to be real clear in something I'm about to say. I'm not saying they're turning down the Trey Smiths of the world. Okay? I'm not saying that. However, if a guy comes down the pike and you look at him and you say he's an offensive guard, I don't see him moving to tackle, and he's locked in that position. That probably says something about his feet, and they're probably going to have tougher battles with those guys with Georgia and Alabama. So I'm not saying they wouldn't take a Trey Smith, I'm saying it may be tougher to get a Trey Smith, a really, really highly touted offensive lineman, because I think he's going to be more apt to go to a more of a pro style set like Georgia or Alabama. But that doesn't mean that Tennessee's not winning the battles they need to win in recruiting.
Yeah, and the unique part about Tennessee, what people need to know is, yes, Heupel runs an air raid, or not an air raid, a veer and shoot is what Dave and I coined it last year for fun, because there's really no phrase for the offense that he runs yet. But we call it the veer and shoot. It's tempo-based. It spreads the field. But it's not a spread offense. I think we need to make that clear. It's not the type of offense where offensive linemen, if you go look at what Urban Meyer did or what Ryan Day's doing at Ohio State, those offensive linemen are told to drop back and just do this and then force the guy a certain area, but not maintain blocks at all. Whereas Heupel's linemen are still taught to maintain blocks because he relies so heavily on the vertical run game. And so you're still going to be coached. You still will be prepared for the NFL as a lineman in Heupel's system. And that's something that will help him long term. But you're right. You're going to be more prepared in Alabama's or Georgia's offense.
Okay, so that leads me to today's tough question. So let's go ahead and dive in that now. Brought to you by Craven Wings. And today's tough question is Tennessee on Georgia and Alabama's level at this very moment in time in terms of recruiting. I think they're on that level in a lot of different places, but let me ask you specifically, are they at the Bama UGA level, almost that good, still some work to do, still plenty to do? One is running away with it, and know that we are, because of the way algorithms work, we are most oftentimes displayed in front of Tennessee fans. So what do you think of the Craven Wings today's tough question? Would you say which one's running away with it without looking? Bama UGA level, almost that good, still has some work to do, still plenty to do.
I'm going to say still has some work to do is the one that's running away with it.
Yep, still has some work to do at 60%, almost that good 26.7%. Bama UGA level 3.3%, still plenty to do at 10%. Again, brought to you by Craven Wings. You will love Craven Wings. Their wings are phenomenal. Great food across the board. I love their salads too. But Craven Wings has daily specials. So get there and get there now to Craven Wings. You will love it. Portions of the program also brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. City Heating and Air Conditioning. Integrity matters, guys. And that unit's about to go out. It's going to get warm. And you want to know that if you're, hey, I'm just saying, your unit just needs a part instead of a whole new unit, which can be thousands of dollars, City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. So that's today's tough question. Apparently, Tennessee fans are being very honest with themselves and say, hey, this recruiting needs some work. And I talked to somebody in the recruiting office. They told me, they said the recruiting is not on point. Just want to let you know that it's going to get even better, which I think is a good sign. I don't think that's a bad sign. But I think they're getting incredibly close. Please hit that thumbs up button, the like button. We greatly appreciate that. If you don't do that, then we can't open it up to more listeners and bring on major guests like we're going to be doing. We're going to have John Adams of the Knoxville News Sentinel joining us very shortly, and also our Celebrate 98 series that we're incredibly proud of. Reminding you that Zool Beer, xulbeer.com, is the official craft beer of Off the Hook Sports. Great parking downtown, and ZoolBeer.com has worldwide award-winning craft beer. It is phenomenal. Zool Beer, xulbeer.com if you're on our audio platform. All right, so the Deion Sanders thing. I bet full bore, was into it, was excited, thought that he only needed to hire a Cutcliffe and a Chavis, a competent coordinator, and he's going to be off and running when it comes to recruiting. And I still believe that. But the question is, what does it mean that Tennessee football beat out Deion Sanders for Ginther, who is from Colorado? Well, I'll tell you what it means. I think some of the shine's off. I think some of the shine's off Deion Sanders. You know, he did the "We Coming" and all that stuff, and that was neat. And I watched a little bit of it. But then I mentioned to you at one point that his Deion special that was on Netflix or whatever it's on had fake reporters. They're standing there with full notebooks like they would have gotten in their school supplies from, I don't know, Big Lots. And they're asking about, how about number 82? And how about, and that's just not the way. I mean, first of all, you don't stand right next to coaches during practice. Second, you have a reporter's notebook. Third, you know who number 82 is. Okay, so you don't say who's number 82. Who's that guy, you know, that has I'm trying to think of a name, Smith across his back. I mean, you know who it is. You know who the players are. If you don't know who the players are in the first day of spring camp, you got a problem. So my answer to your question about Tennessee beating out a Colorado prospect to leave is that at the end of the day, there's going to be a balance sheet, and Deion Sanders is only going to have so much money to spend, and it's not going to be in NIL money. It's not going to be initially as much as Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Southern Cal, USC. There's going to be 20 plus schools. They're going to be able to spend more than him, Caleb. And he's going to bring in endorsements in year 2, and you could have the Buffs made tough by Ford, built tough. And then that changes things. But as for right now, he's pitching a product that had, I think, 2 wins last year, that it hasn't been very good. And I think there's a glass ceiling in year 1 of what you can accomplish from a recruiting standpoint. You?
I'm going to go take it a step further. I think he's pitching himself as a product. And I don't think he realizes is that at the college football level, he's not that much of a product to sell. I mean, let's be honest. If there are coaches with incredible credibility at programs that are blue bloods all over, and the celebrity status of a coach in college football that only takes you so far. I mean, if you're a young recruit, look, we still don't know about Deion Sanders coaching at this level. We have thoughts, but his selling point is coaching at Jackson State, where, yes, he did out-recruit everybody at HBCUs. He was the only HBCU with Division I talent, so of course he was going to blow everybody out of the water. Now he's competing with a bunch of high-profile recruiters who have connections all over the country, and if you're a star athlete and you're leveraging your future, you're going to go for the more sure bet. I mean, let's just be honest. Even Tennessee is a much more sure bet than Colorado right now. No one knows what to make of this Deion Sanders situation right now at Colorado. No one knows if it's going to work out. The truth of the matter is, and here's the really hard truth, Deion Sanders is going to have to win first before we can recruit at Colorado. He can't just recruit on his name alone at Colorado. And it's really, really hard to win at Colorado. And so he might be between a rock and a hard place here.
No, and he may win. His son's a very good quarterback, could start anywhere in the SEC, and he may win. But as far as Tennessee going against Colorado, if you see that matchup in recruiting, I would not be overly concerned. I think that Tennessee has a great opportunity to win that. Now, I think the next step of where it gets very interesting is the same thing that happened to Josh Heupel. Because what did Josh Heupel do in year 2? He beat Alabama. And then you started seeing recruiting dominoes fall, if not necessarily for the 2023 class, but the upcoming class. People were won over. People were excited. More people were attending University of Tennessee games. Is that going to happen for Colorado? I don't know. What would be the definition of that? I would say a winning season, right? Making it to a bowl game. And at the end of the day, you are playing in a remote area. I believe that you could recruit Compton and you could recruit South LA and have success there. And they did that before under Bill McCartney. But at the end of the day, you're in a Pac-12 that's about to get ripped apart. I almost think he would have been better off if he would have signed with if he had gone to no offense to the late Mike Leach, but if Mississippi State had called, if they'd have made a change in the offseason, Mississippi State to me is about the lowest rung on the SEC tier. But I think the lowest rung on the SEC tier, the point I'm trying to make, is better than a decent tier in the Pac-12, right?
I agree. As a matter of fact, this might be a debate for another day because I wonder if Mississippi State has the least to sell of any SEC school, and that includes Vanderbilt, because they might be at the bottom in terms of the least to sell as a program. And,
yes.
I mean, I don't want to have to say that, but it's a little. There's just so many problems, notable problems with Mississippi State trying to sell. They needed a Mike Leach to sell, but I'm with you. They could still out recruit, I think, Deion Sanders at Colorado. And here's the other thing. And this is a big one. And Dave, you've covered coaches who come and go, who many melt down underneath this type of pressure. And I'm going to say it. Deion Sanders, to his credit, and it's a genius move. He's one of the best cornerbacks of all time, but he's also one of the few football players who was smart enough to create a brand around himself. The NFL is not like the NBA, whereas every NBA player, the NBA is about the individual. Always has been, always will be about the individual. The NFL is about the collective, with a few exceptions. Almost all those exceptions are quarterbacks. Deion Sanders is one of the few guys that, not being a quarterback, was able to create a brand around himself. Now, if you're a superstar athlete and you create a brand around yourself, one thing that you get used to is controlling the entire narrative around you. You control everything. You talked about it with fake reporters. When you become the head coach of a Power 5 football program, you have no control over the narrative. You cannot control the narrative.
Long term, you're right. He probably does now. I wonder if the reporters there are calling him Coach Prime, which I would never do, which he has requested to be called Coach Prime. Sorry, that's not going to happen. You know, if you don't like being called Deion, I'm not going to call you Coach. You're not my coach. I mean, that's just that. I'm not going to say who, but at a media agency, they said, "Hey, everybody's tired of our host calling the coaches by their first name. You should call them Coach out of respect." Out of respect for what? I mean, this is not a doctor that is, you know, doing some sort of bone graft on me. I'm going to call him doctor. Why am I going to call Lane Kiffin, who's younger than me, that doesn't coach me, a coach? And it just makes no sense. And if I called Philip Fulmer a coach instead of Philip, he'd look at me like I was weird or trying to kiss up or something. So, I mean, I just, that sort of penny ante stuff to me is going to undermine him. And it's something that Josh Heupel doesn't have because the program is genuine. I'll give you another one. So, you know how I was turned off by the reporters having the full notebooks, which nobody ever has, right?
Yeah.
Well, just like 2 weeks, I saw Believe in Him or something, this video. You know, our videos pop up. Maybe some of ours do as well. But there's this video of him and his guys are trying to get 225, which is the standard at the NFL Combine on bench. And they were struggling to get it 1, 2, 3 times. And he lays down, "Don't ever doubt me. Don't ever doubt me." And he gets it like 12 to 15 times. Now, I'm not Deion Sanders level of athlete, but I am 50. I'm close to 50 years old. And I believe he's 53. Unless he lifted every day, he's not laying down and doing 225, 12 to 15 times. That is a substantial mark for a person that's 50 years old. So the first thing I thought is the outside plate is hollow. And they do this on bodybuilding videos all the time. That the ones that tell you, you need to do the special pump when you do the Arnold pump and all that. They're using hollow weights. So it makes it look like they're lifting more. So he's already lost his authenticity with me. And I wonder how many other people and then high school kids he'll lose that with. To me, it was because of the notepad thing. But now maybe people are.
There is a Emperor has no clothes moment with Deion Sanders.
Yes.
And it's going to take one player. The players are all going to buy in for a little while, but at some point there's going to be one notable player that points it out. The minute that one player points it out, everybody's going to start pointing it out.
Thank you. Rebecca says exactly. He's got to prove himself right now. He's just a lot of talk. I think that these kids can see some of that. Yeah, I think they can. And if I'm seeing it 49 years old, then they're seeing it quicker than me. Okay? Because kids see stuff a lot quicker. Kids will say, "Oh, that guy's a phony." My kids way before I do. I mean, like weeks or months before I do. We'll say that guy's a phony. My son said Russell Wilson's a phony. Like when he left the Broncos, left Seattle for the Broncos. He was right, and that was like a year ago. It took me to like last month to figure it out.
And also, kids aren't swept up by Deion the athlete. No kids today remember Deion the athlete. So
I will say that kids watch highlights. I thought you might go there. My son definitely knows who Deion and Bo Jackson is because of highlights.
Yeah, but they're not going to be starstruck the way we would have been.
No, they don't realize that when he lined up for a punt return in the playoffs, that there was a 50-50 chance he was going to take it back.
Exactly.
They don't realize it was that scary for the other team.
I mean, there's not going to be they're not going to fall into the aura with Deion the way we might. And the other point is, on a smaller scale, you're seeing this, by the way, with Memphis and Penny Hardaway, who's not doing a bad job at Memphis. But as you know, Penny Hardaway is a transcendent legend in Memphis. They love him. He played for the Tigers from there. He's beloved in every way, came home to coach the team. And he's had a couple of meltdowns snapping at reporters for questioning his ability to do the job, because he's not used to that type of scrutiny. And I mean, I always say, like, the aura of people can fall fast. You know this, Dave, with Tennessee. Younger Vol fans in the 80s had no memory of Johnny Majors in the 50s. So they didn't feel any loyalty with him whatsoever.
No. Travis says, I disagree on 225. If you get to where you can bench 315 for multiples, you'll always be able to do 225 for reps. Just saying. Well, that's true. I did 300 once. I racked the weight. I asked the guy if he helped. He said no. I got my dog a case of beer and went on the boat and didn't work out for 6 weeks. So I did not get 315 for multiples. I got 3 once, and I was good with that. Back in 2 minutes, some more Tennessee football recruiting, but also Kennedy Chandler. What should Tennessee have done, if anything, to try to keep him in the fold? And some former Vols in this year's NBA playoffs. Who among them is the most important? A lot going on. It's Friday. Hit that thumbs up button, the like button. We greatly appreciate that. And then, again, today's tough question, is Tennessee up to Alabama and Georgia snuff yet as far as recruiting, or if they got some work to do? Let me hear your thoughts on the message board, or you can vote on the Twitter before Elon destroys it. 2 minutes, Off the Hook Sports with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker.
And Craving Wings South North Shore location, where we've heard people say that you can get the best wings in East Tennessee. Pero ¿quién es este? El número 87, Jacob Warren.
I'll just do 6 of my sauce 87, please.
Imposible, señorita. Dale 6 más. Look at these wings. Perfectas, deliciosas, fantásticas.
Man, I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds awesome. How do you say fresh, never frozen in Spanish?
Frescas, nunca congeladas. Make your way to Craving Wings and get you 6 más.
But what was funny about Cadis, we were a full continuum of care at that time. We had detox, we had inpatient, we had outpatient. So we were doing a lot of the things that we do now. But now we just do them so much better. It's really a simple program, but we're complicated people. I am what I am, and now I got to do something about it.
You can take your life back. Call Cadis today.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn at cctis.com.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Our family has been creating jewelry since 1986, each piece unique with a story all its own. I'm Rick Terry with Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. I'm a jeweler, and I want to be your jeweler. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler. My family and staff look forward to serving you. So please come see us. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street, right next to the Tennessee Theater.
A college football tradition like no other.
Yes, sirree, boys and girls.
Or a guy that just won't leave.
Wow, that is sad.
The Dave Hooker Show. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Back to Dave Hooker.
So what we've learned so far is that my bench numbers ain't great. I don't know, man. If you can do 225 for reps, which I can't, you know, my problem is with lifting weights is, Caleb, I thought that you were supposed to try to throw a football as hard as you can every time you threw it. So my right shoulder is just shredded. My left shoulder could probably do like 300 pounds, but it's my right shoulder that could end in a very bad weight room disaster.
Oh man!
I don't. What we would wait out there in between practice. You know, you'd watch them stretch, and then you'd have an hour and a half to burn before you'd go in and actually interview the players. So me and Austin Ward, who I'm sure you know covers Ohio State, worked with me together on the beat. Well, he was younger than me, so I had to go out there and, you know, I had to show off the cannon. So here I am. You know, we're throwing it 40, 45 yards, and I'm just chucking it, and still to this day, it hurts. Cody says, has there been any word about Julian Phillips' status? Will he stay or go? Auburn, what do you say about that, Caleb? Then we're going to do something fun here that I'm excited about.
There has not been any word yet about Julian Phillips' status. I think there's rumors. Yes, there's a lot of rumors that people are expecting him to enter the portal. So, which that threw me off. That rumors came this weekend. I thought he was either going to just stay or go to the NBA. But if he enters the portal, that would be unique. And I have heard Auburn being a school he's targeting. Honestly, this is not personal feelings. This is not because I cover Tennessee. If you're trying to develop for the NBA and you're staying another year, you should play for Rick Barnes, not Bruce Pearl. Rick Barnes is a better developer of talent than Bruce Pearl is. He just is, no questions asked.
And that comes from a guy who is fairly and openly critical. And when I say fair, I mean he is fair, not fairly critical, but he is fair and critical about Rick Barnes. Okay, can I reset today's tough question a little bit? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Look at that. See, man, Caleb's so easy to get along with. That's why I love him. I got some major announcements too.
I don't know. Many coaches and athletes don't think that, but
yeah, I'll say it. If anybody can put on the message board, I'm going to see the greatest athlete in his sport of all time this week. If anybody can tell me who that is, then I'll hook him up with a Hooker t-shirt. How about that? And if anybody can answer this question, but you got to put it on the message board because we tried the whole pick a foursome for the Masters. That was an utter disaster. None of the comments registered. So whoever would have won, I'm sorry. So do it now, and then I'll pin it, take a picture of it, fax it, whatever we've got to do, 1988 style, to get our winner on there, because I'm going to reset today's tough question brought to you by Craven Wings. Today's tough question with Craven Wings, always fresh, never frozen.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, so let's see if you're listening because I want your input. I'm watching the Masters, and I'm the guy who, when Tiger was there, I watched every year. I'm that guy. I got drug in by Tyler, Caleb. It didn't matter if he was at his best or he's going through some sort of weird affair with the Huddle House waitress, you know, whatever the case may be, it didn't matter. And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm thinking, this is perfect because I got one kid who's gone back to college. I got another kid who's tired because he had to work in the morning. We had Easter, we had the family down, and they're all the heck out of here. And I'm thinking, I'm going to watch the Masters, and I'm going to watch this Rahm and Koepka guy go at it. And I'm not a golf guy, but this is awesome. And Brooks Koepka just decided that he was going to barf in his golf bag and completely melted down. I mean, melted down. And it was a weird meltdown. I want to tie this into the Vols, so hang tight with me. Hit the thumbs up button so we can get more people on board. He melted down in every facet. he didn't just miss putts. He didn't just drive the ball poorly. Caleb, I'm not sure if you're a golf guy or if you watched it, but he did a little of everything poorly. Nothing like where you would say, oh my gosh, he's the worst golfer ever. You would watch it and you're like, you're just giving away your opportunity to win and my opportunity to enjoy my Sunday evening. Okay. Thank you very much, Brooks Koepka. Take your live money. Get the heck out of here.
Blood money.
What's that?
Blood money, you mean? Sorry.
Yes. Blood, live, love. Yes. Blood money.
Country that did 9/11 and you're going to take money from them. Sorry.
Yes. No. Brother, you want to get me started on that? You can get me started on that. We're on the same page on that one. So today's tough question is brought to you by our friends at Craft Treats. I'll tell you more about them. What's the greatest ball meltdown you've ever seen?
Greatest ball meltdown.
And you can't say, I know where you're going. So neither of us, since I was there and it's the first place that most people will go, it's the 2001 SEC championship game, right?
I mean, that is the greatest, though. That is far none the greatest meltdown of all time.
Okay, but is the Columbia collapse last year a close second, or was that just so bad where you say that's an anomaly? Because Brooks Koepka just stumbled down the stretch like Tennessee did in 2001. It was like, okay, they can still do this. They can still pull this out. They can still make it close. Brooks Koepka can do this. He can make it close. Hell, he didn't even come close, Caleb. It was did you watch much of it? It was awful.
No, I didn't watch much of it.
It was awful. It was like the most pain. I'm like getting my wife, where she's been gone for a week. And, I'm like, this is a great time to spend. We'll eat the Easter leftovers. And Brooks Koepka just blanked the bed.
Okay, I got one for you. And it's the reverse. It's the reverse. All the hype in 1996. Tennessee's number 2. They're hosting Florida. This is the year they're going to beat Florida. There's all this hype behind it. And within 20 minutes, Florida's up 35-0.
Yeah,
that was a meltdown.
Okay, but that would have been melting down on Thursday if Koepka would have done that.
Okay, Tennessee the year before on Florida when they were in the swamp and they were up 30-14. And then Florida scores 41 unanswered points in the second half.
Okay, that's pretty good. The 2001 SEC championship game is hard to match because you just felt like even with 3 minutes left in the game, they could somehow stop a draw and make a play.
You were so sure they were going to win until LeBrandon Tofield scored that touchdown. Not LeBrandon Tofield, excuse me. Who was it that scored the 4th and 1 goal? Because Tofield was hurt. Was it Justin Vincent that scored the touchdown on 4th and 1? Saban calls the timeout. You were so sure Henderson and Hainsworth, they're not going to let them get this 1 yard on 4th and goal from the 1. And by golly, they didn't let him get it.
I'll tell you one that felt like it was. And what do you guys think? Whoever gives me the best one, the most accurate, I'm going to hook you up with. You can either have a Craven Wings gift certificate or you can have a Hooker t-shirt, which the shelf life on those are running quickly low because we did it based off a guy named Hooker that played quarterback, not the guy that talks about the Hooker guy named quarterback. Cody says 2020 Texas A&M. Cody says 2012 Florida. Cody, are we talking about Tennessee games or what are we doing here?
So 2020 Texas A&M, I don't know what he means by that. Texas A&M dominated that game. Now, I would say it may have been a meltdown because that was the day that the Tennessee cheating scandal broke with Eric Gray.
I have your winner.
What is it?
And I'm very proud of myself. It's the 2000 LSU game.
The 2000. That wasn't a meltdown, though. Tennessee fought back in that game.
Okay, but here's the thing. So did Brooks Koepka. If you watched it, he fought back to no avail. Okay? I mean, he tried. And then at the end, it was just his pure buffoonery of sending 18 defensive tackles onto the field that lost him the game.
Oh, that's 2010 LSU, you mean?
Oh, what? Oh, I said 2000. Sorry, 2010.
2000 was the one where AJ Suggs fought back against Rohan Davey. Remember that? And
yes.
It was the week after LSU had lost to UAB.
That's right. That was Nick Saban's first big win. Congratulations, Vols.
Yeah.
So 2010. Because that felt like, if you go through that game, you felt like Tennessee was as good or better of an opponent. And it felt like that all day yesterday, that it was a matter of time. I mean, Rom wanted to give the thing away. Cody says 2020 was wrong. My bad. So Cody is going with 2012, Florida, 2016, Texas. Travis says it's the 96 Nebraska game. Yeah, that was just an all-out thumping.
That wasn't a meltdown. That was John Chavis was a deer in headlights trying to learn how to defend the triple option.
Well, and that was a better, more physical team. I mean, let's be honest.
But Tennessee had more NFL talent on the defensive line than Nebraska had on the offensive line that year. John Chavis just had no idea how to stop the option schematically. I put that solely on John Chavis because they lost to Nebraska twice. Then they lost to Kansas State in the Cotton Bowl. And Dave, let's just be honest. It became very clear John Chavis just never knew anything about how to stop the triple option.
True. Okay, so the worst meltdown then, if, again, an opponent was worthy. See, that's why David says put 2023 South Carolina. I don't put them in there because I don't think they were worthy. I think that's more what you did than what they did.
I totally agree. It was more about what Tennessee, and it wasn't like Tennessee, you never really felt Tennessee was in that game, honestly. You felt they could come back, but it's not like they ever fought back and tied it. No, South Carolina just controlled that game from start to finish because of Tennessee's inability to stop them defensively because of the.
And then you had the Hooker injury that if there were any chance that Tennessee was going to climb back in it, that was the end of it. And then you said what was the 2015 Florida game that brought up?
Oh yeah, Rob Miller, 2015 and 2017 Florida games. 2015, both of those. That was Butch Jones versus Jim McElwain, and like that's the Dumb and Dumber sequel. Okay, because 2015 Florida was the worst. Dave, I don't know if you remember this game. That's the one where Florida was down by 13 in the fourth quarter. Jim McElwain sends on the field goal unit. And Butch Jones doesn't have his field goal block team because he was shocked that he brought up the field goal unit. Butch Jones burns a timeout to get the field goal block team on, and then Jim McElwain decides to go for it and converts. Who cares if you don't have the field goal block team on? They're going to kick a field goal, and you're going to get the ball back still up 2 scores. Don't burn a timeout.
No, I'm with you. And as much fun as that discussion was, let's be honest, it's the 2001 SEC championship game, right?
Stands out above all. 2001.
I mean, because Tennessee was a better football team. Brooks Koepka is a better golfer than John Rahm.
Yes.
I mean, he at the end of their careers, I don't care if you're live or what, you will look at them and say Koepka's better. By the way, some guys living on that live money, Koepka looked a little chunky there. Looked like a lower, I don't know, body fat percentage.
Saudi Arabians like to give Americans
higher body fat percentage. He looked a little chunky. I'm just saying, when you pay people up front, you give them $200 million to be Brooks. Do you have the same desire as opposed to working hard to getting 200 and 250 million on the PGA Tour? All right, Memphis Grizzlies cut Kennedy Chandler. Should he have stayed another year? I said at the time, because of his height, I said just a couple of weeks ago, he would have been great for the NIL to keep around. That didn't happen. He's now cut by the Grizzlies. You'd think if he could have his druthers, he could have his do-over, he would have stayed at Tennessee another year.
I think possibly. It depends on where he lands being waived. He wasn't waived because he's not a good player, and there's a lot of signs that another NBA team's going to pick him up. He was waived because the Grizzlies need to make room for a big man because Steven Adams is hurt as he gets set for the playoffs.
True. What does that mean for Kennedy Chandler? Kennedy Chandler would be making $700,000-$800,000, I believe. Let's say $600,000-$700,000 in NIL right now. If Tennessee was committed to that and the collectives were committed to that, there would be no question in my mind that he would be making that type of money. Instead, he's making about 4.7 over 4 years because he managed to get in the first round, but just barely. This is not a guy who went high first round who NBA execs thinks going to be a superstar. Listen, it's already started. You gave me the reason, and those are good reasons why they have to cut him. But once you start getting cut in the NBA, don't you just bounce around and it seems like your career's much of nothing. Ask Christian Laettner. I mean, Kennedy Chandler with one more year under his belt might not be a better NBA prospect, but he would have enjoyed that year a lot more. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, so the trick with this is people, I mean, you talk about Christian Laettner bouncing around, but he had a 14-year career, 13-year career in the NBA. And the thing that people have to realize is that with the NBA, more so than the NFL, more so than the MLB, more so than any sport you can name, being a journeyman in the NBA pays so much better than any other sport. NBA players get paid way, way better than any other professional sports league in the world.
I agree, but psychologically, wouldn't you want to be, as far as a career goal, wouldn't you want to be at one team and be known for that one team?
I think people Kennedy Chandler was never going to be good enough to be like known with one team. He was always going to be a career role player. He was never going to be a star in the NBA or anything like that. He was always going to be a Ron Harper or somebody like that. And that was his ceiling.
Yeah, but Ron Harper fell at that one team that wanted to make him a priority, eventually the Bulls. He was pretty talented before he got hurt, but he fell with that one team, and we now associate him with the Bulls. I get the feeling that after 12 years from now, Caleb, when we're sitting here and we're having this conversation, we don't really have a team that Kennedy Chandler most associates with. Whereas had he come back to Tennessee, showcase some more skill, done some more things, you could see someone putting a premium on him and saying, I want to keep this guy around and letting him grow. I just don't think when you go to the Grizzlies in the first round at a pick that makes sense because it's a UT guy, that's not going to be your final destination. I could have told you that 10 months ago.
Well, yeah, but again, if we're 12 years from now and you're Kennedy Chandler, if he's 12 years from now, that means he made at least $60 million. And so in his mind, he's like, I got $60 million. If I'd gone back to Tennessee, I could have blown my knee out and not made any money, or just gotten that $700,000 and that's it.
Well, I didn't mean still playing in 12 years. I mean, if we just bumped into him on the street.
Now,
go ahead.
Sorry, I would concede that he would have improved his draft stock had he stayed another year, because he would have upped his free throw shooting, and that would have made him a much more desirable NBA player for a lot of teams, because a lot of smarter teams now are starting to do what I said you should do for years, and this is why European players are getting more successful. Production at the level you are at matters more than potential, unless you're one of those top 5 picks.
Yep, I agree. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. I think he should have stayed. I think he would have had a fantastic year, a special run in the NCAA tournament, exactly what Tennessee needed. And listen, if you want to rip on Rick Barnes, that's fine. But he did put together a team, if you include Kennedy Chandler, that would have made some more noise in the tournament. He just didn't get to keep Kennedy Chandler. On the flip side, you could say that, hey, here's the deal. He's not adjusting to the game, which is very true. But coming up, NBA playoff Vols. Congrats to those guys. 2 minutes off the hook sports with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker.
I know you like the heat. You got to try my signature sauce 87.
Dude, you know I love you and I love to try your wing sauce. But when it comes to wings, I need them really hot. I hit 105 on the radar gun. I need to be pretty spicy.
Yeah, I know that, man. Look, if sauce 87 isn't enough for you, I guess you can try the Holy Moses or the Grim Reaper.
Now we're talking.
Take it from these Farragut admirals. When you're craving wings, it's got to be Craven Wings. Visit them online at cravenwings.com.
With all that sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Before Cadis, I was really heavy into the drug culture. I was selling drugs. I was just constantly in pain. I was missing like a good support system in my life. Cadis has given me everything that I need in order to successfully have a wonderful recovery, in order to have a life that I didn't even know was possible before. And it's not just about me anymore, and I love that. I absolutely love it.
You can take your life back. Call Cadis today.
Our family has been creating one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry in West Knoxville since 1986. Each piece is a combination of unique processes that bring your idea to life. Every day in our shop, a truly special item with a story all its own is being manufactured in our facility, bringing the history and family sentiment into a whole new generation of life. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler, a title that we value and respect. Because to me, being a jeweler and owning a jewelry store are not the same thing. I'm Rick Terry, I'm a jeweler, and we want to be your jeweler. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street right next to the Tennessee Theater.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show.
Who?
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
I absolutely hated the concept of Hendon Hooker going to the Titans because what have they done with quarterbacks? Nothing much. And they've had some highly rated ones. They've had the journeyman guys. They've had them all. And I don't remember a superstar quarterback not named Vince Young in that franchise since Warren Moon. And that's going back a while. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button, the like button. We appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed at this point, you've got to do it. And what did I say? I meant to say Steve McNair. Correct me. What did I say, Caleb?
I think you accidentally said Vince Young.
Oh, Steve McNair. Sorry.
That's the college fan in you because Vince Young was so fun in college.
Yeah, no, Vince Young was definitely not Steve McNair. So since Steve McNair, which is roughly 20 years ago, they have not had a dominant quarterback. That's why I didn't want Hendon Hooker to get there.
I never expected Hendon Hooker to be a dominant quarterback in the NFL. Anyway, he's a system quarterback, which that's fine that he's a system quarterback. And I think the Titans, if they stick with the system they're going with, Hendon Hooker would be a decent fit for him.
Well, that's interesting you would bring that up. I think he could fit because of his adaptability. I think there's potential that he could fit into most any system, to be real honest with you. But maybe we disagree on that. Maybe that's a topic for another day.
You have to tailor your system to somewhat what he can do because it's not – you can't fully open up a standard pro-style playbook where he throws all over the field purely from the pocket. Like his mobility has to be a threat. He has issues throwing over the middle. There's a couple of things he needs.
I think it's footwork. I think it's as simple as that. So, like, if he were willing to say, hey, I've got to work on my footwork a lot, then you would basically shut him down for a year and work on footwork. And I think that would help his accuracy and a lot of different throws. I would think that would open up the field to him. But that's a pretty major overhaul. Portions of the program brought to you by Craft Treats. CraftTreats.com. Use the promo code OFFTHEHOOK, and you will get the chill pills or more. You can get any of their products for 20% off just by using Off the Hook. That's the promo code Off the Hook. Get 20% off the chill pills, which will help with your pet's digestive issues, arthritis, or even social anxiety. Or you can go with the regular old Craft Treats that are fantastic because they're holistic and your pet will love them. So I didn't love Hendon Hooker going to the Tennessee Titans for those reasons that I just laid out. I love Darnell Wright going to the Tennessee Titans, and here are the reasons I will give you for that. One, I think he's versatile. If he had to play left tackle in a pinch, which just happens in the NFL because they actually have fewer roster spots, he could do that. I think he's incredibly versatile. I'll just go ahead and give Darnell Wright the ultimate compliment I could give. He needs to be a Dallas Cowboy. So I love everything about his game. I think the Tennessee Titans, too, are, at least for now, things could change, but are predicated on running the football. I think that he would answer a lot of questions about pass protection, probably on that right side. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not 3 or 4 GMs that see him as a left tackle. because he's that athletic. So I love the concept of Darnell Wright going to the Tennessee Titans. I thought that would be huge.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it. And the reason I'm mixed on it is because the Titans, you're right, he's a he's a versatile offensive lineman, and the Titans did just let Taylor Lewan go. But Nicholas Petit-Frere from Ohio State was just drafted by them last year. He was the third pick of the draft, and he started every game at right tackle last year. I think they're really going forward with him. I want to see Darnell Wright at right tackle in the NFL because you and I both know, even though he's versatile, that's where he's at his best. Now, is it possible that Nicholas Petit-Frere could move to left tackle? Maybe they move him over. I'm not exactly sure who is a better left tackle in this situation. I don't know where he started at Ohio State, to be fair, but he was right tackle firmly last year. But on principle, if Darnell Wright can play left tackle as well, I love him there too. I love him going to the Titans then too, because the Titans have a massive need there. Pass protection is crucial. They need blocking to be able to run the ball. And I think we all trust Darnell Wright to be able to do all of that.
Travis says, how about the Chiefs? I think that would be huge too. The ability to learn with Trey Smith would be really, really big. Just one of the teams that are out there that are going to run the football. And what are there? Probably 10, 12 teams that really value running the football. Seems like there are about a handful of teams, 5 or 6, that are going to run the quarterback a lot. And there's the rest of the group that's pretty much status quo, 50-50, or lean towards throwing the football, which makes sense in today's NFL rules and what they have going on. But I would just like for him to go to some place where they run the football. So Chiefs would be a good fit, even though they obviously can throw it. And the Titans would be a good fit. I think the other question you have to ask yourself, if you're going to play him on the right or the left, is what type of pass rushers do you have in the AFC East?
AFC South or West, you mean?
Or AFC South. When you look at those group of pass rushers, are they lining up on the right side or left side? So you may have thoughts on that, but yeah, I would love for him to go to the Titans. I think that's a great pickup. And listen, this is where it's always been weird for me. Money will come into play at some point if this gets to the 6th or 7th round with a Vol. The Titans will take them, just like I thought they reached a little on Joey Kent originally. They've reached on some guys throughout the years, Caleb, that I thought they wanted, because it wasn't necessarily about winning games. It was about selling more tickets. And there is a business side of that, which I understand.
Yeah, I remember when they drafted Joey Kent, and Bud Adams showed how out of touch he was in the state of Tennessee. He thought with the Oilers playing in Memphis that he could draw fans by drafting a guy who played for Tennessee. That wasn't going to work, as you and I know. And Memphis was already, I think rightly so, I'm a Titans fan, but I defend the city of Memphis for this. They had every right to boycott the Oilers when they played in Memphis. They knew they were going to stay for 2 years, and try to use that money to build the stadium in Nashville. I got to defend my hometown. Memphis fans had every right to boycott the Oilers playing in the Liberty Bowl for those 2 years and to humiliate them, because the way they did that was awful.
No, and it seems like ancient history, but at the time I thought, this is really stupid.
Yeah. They thought that Memphis people would root for a team that was going to go to Nashville, not realizing the rivalry that existed between the two cities.
Yeah. So it's like you've got a wife who says, I'm going to leave you in 2 years, but let's make the best of it until then. And then you can have great memories about me after that.
Yeah, exactly. Not only am I going to leave you, I'm going to leave you for the person that bullied you in high school.
Yes. That is better looking and sexier and just lives down the road, because Nashville is a better looking, sexier town than Memphis.
It's pristine. Memphis is more blue collar.
Oh, I knew that would rub him the wrong way.
Yes.
Nashville's
a little, look, I like Nashville, but it's two different types of cities. Nashville's very pristine and fancy, and it's where the country music stars put on the makeup and put on the yak. Memphis is the blue collar town where the people were actually about the life they're singing about.
See, there he goes. It's that little Memphis sensitivity he has. Brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Toro, count on it in Cleveland. Vassy Lawn and Garden is absolutely phenomenal, so you have to check them out. You will love them. Vassy Lawn and Garden, man alive, it is worth the drive. And here David Vassy will tell you more coming up. So we've got Darnell Wright going to the Titans. We're good with that. And then the former Vols that made it into this year's draft. Pretty impressive. You like
the playoffs, this year's playoffs.
Playoffs, yes. It's pretty impressive that they made 4 Vols made playoffs. I know you like to rip Rick Barnes, but
yeah, but we're about to debate on how many of Rick Barnes' fingers are on these Vols in the playoffs. Fingerprints.
Stay tuned. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
To own the more that owns every job, then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Our family has been creating one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry in West Knoxville since 1986. Each piece is a combination of unique processes that bring your idea to life. Every day in our shop, a truly special item with a story all its own is being manufactured in our facility, bringing the history and family sentiment into a whole new generation of life. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler, a title that we value and respect. Because to me, being a jeweler and owning a jewelry store are not the same thing. I'm Rick Terry, I'm a jeweler, and we want to be your jeweler. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street right next to the Tennessee Theater.
With all that sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
What's up, everybody? This is University of Tennessee tight end Jacob Warren, proud to announce that I'll be working with Craven Wings again this season. And I want you to give your all and try my signature sauce, Sauce 87, at either of the Craven Wings 2 locations, Chapman Highway in Seymour and South North Shore Drive at the Markets of Choto. When you're craving wings, it's gotta be Craven Wings. Online at cravenwings.com.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
So the NBA playoffs are about to start, and some Vols are a part of it. So there you go. David says Nashville is the armpit of Tennessee, and I'm not going to refer to which ballpark he says.
You just let it slip by accident.
Yeah, what body part he said Memphis is. Oops. Maybe
Let's just say this with David's quote. If you're a man, you would much rather have one than the other. One is much more crucial to your body than the other.
Oh, I don't like armpits. All right. So 4 former Vols will make this year's NBA playoffs. Who among them is the most important? Let me fire these at you. Grant Williams of Boston.
What you want me to say? How important, or just who's?
Yes, how important are they?
Oh, Grant Williams is crucial to Boston. He's crucial to their success.
He's crucial also because they don't have a superstar team. They seem to have.
They got Jason Tatum, who is a superstar, though.
Well, they got Tatum and they got Jalen Wright, but no, not Jalen Wright. Who's the other kid that plays like a poor man's Tatum?
Sorry, Who is the other kid? Who is the other guy? It's Jaylen Brown. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown. So to me, they're a group of guys. I mean, Tatum may be a star. I don't think he has the killer instinct that you would want. So I think there are probably 8 players on that Boston team that are very important. Grant Williams is one of them that you would hate to lose going into the playoffs. Tobias Harris with the Sixers.
Absolutely crucial. Particularly if Joel Embiid is going to be the way Joel Embiid likes to stretch the court with his play, Tobias has to be a major force underneath the basket. He's a big deal.
Yes, and Joel Embiid included him on a commercial endorsement over the weekend. So just know that he thinks he's incredibly important, or he wouldn't have shared the cash with him.
Joel Embiid's been trying to shoot a shot at Rihanna for like 5 years. Maybe Tobias could be his wingman.
That's the key portions of the program before we get to Josh Richardson, brought to you by Campbell Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. No contacts, no glasses. I see clearly thanks to my LASIK and cataract. I didn't have cataract, but I had LASIK surgery. You can have cataracts there too. And they are phenomenal because they're local vision care, and you just don't get that anywhere else. That is Campbell Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn right there in the Knoxville area, local doctors who care about your vision. Then Josh Richardson in the Pelicans play-in game.
Very, very crucial now because Zion Williamson is hurt again. And Josh Richardson is averaging 10 points a game. He is a defensive specialist. He's probably the best developmental story, I'm going to say, in Tennessee basketball history.
Can we at some point get a breaking news sounder for when Zion Williamson is not hurt?
Yeah, no, that's so true. But Josh, remember Josh was barely a 3-star, committed to Quanzo Martin and played for 3 years under him, and then played under Donnie Tyndall for a year, and really developed into an NBA draft player, or to an NBA player, a 4-year guy who became a double figures guy in the NBA. That's how often do you see that nowadays? And
then you have Jaden Springer Spaniel for the Sixers. How important is he?
Completely unimportant, completely irrelevant. One and done player one of the many one and dones who doesn't matter. Was the less important of the 2 one and dones on the 2020-2021 team. He will be lucky if he sees the court now, particularly when you shorten the rotation in the NBA playoffs.
Our friend Andy Mason at AndyMasonRealEstate.com has you taken care of when it comes to real estate in the Knoxville area. Over 40 years of experience in his office. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. That's all you need to know. AndyMasonRealEstate.com is just absolutely phenomenal. They have the best prices and the best service in the biz. So that's why you need to go to AndyMasonRealEstate.com. A lot coming up on the program this week, maybe some John Adams. I believe that'll happen at some point soon. And also, we will have Fred White and Josh Ward. So a lot on the program this week. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation